Welcome to the MYT training workshop on biological waste treatment, Part 6, Operational Management of an MBT. At first, we will look at the organization structure. On this slide, you can see where the ZAK is located is in the southwest part of Germany in the state of Baden-Württemberg, and we work with the counties of Ottenau and Emmendingen. If you look at the fifth point in the yellow box, you can see simply that ZAK's function is for the treatment, utilization, and disposal of the waste from these two counties. It might seem surprising to you, but the organizational structure of the ZAK is a municipal enterprise responsible for the waste management of these two counties. It is, though, not a private enterprise in itself. It is not a legal entity in itself, but rather part of the two counties that we serve. It is also using the economies of scale by using the different departments in the county administration, such as personnel, financial office, and other central offices, to help keep the cost to the citizens in these two counties low. The ZAK has found that it is important to keep the organizational structure of the ZAK with its supervisory board in a very flat hierarchy. This defines the responsibilities of each of the people and different levels in the department, as well as opening and keeping clear communication lines open to all departments, so that each department knows what the other is doing and also which each department has for jobs. Here we would like to show you the different levels of the flat hierarchy. For one specific department, the biological drying step, that is here. You will see we have the Verbandsversammlung, or that is our group that is controlling us. There's also the head of the whole company here, other people underneath them, and all the different departments that you can see along here, starting with the MBT, Mechanical Biological Waste Treatment, and the shift supervisor underneath them, and going into the biological drying step. Here, in our example of the ZAK plant in Ringsheim, Germany, we would like to show you the beginning parts where the waste comes in, mechanical pre-treatment, biological conversion, and for our example here, biological drying, and later on material separation. In our example of the biological drying step, the staff here just don't come in the morning, press the green button, and go home at night and press the red button. They do have certain responsibilities that they also know about and have been trained for. For example, plant operation takes around 35% of their time, maintenance and repair work around 33%, analytical support around 2%, and inspection and cleaning work around 30%. Inspection and cleaning is very important in that it keeps their plant running longer than if you didn't do anything. Now let us look shortly at the investment costs involved. Here we would like to look in the investment costs needed for a typical MYT plant. In step 1, one has the acceptance hall. One needs a flat or deep bunker. In step 2, in mechanical pretreatment, you need sieve and separation equipment. Step 3, the biological treatment, one needs hydrolysis and AD facilities. Biological drying, the tunnel equipment. And in step 5, mechanical post-treatment of RDF, you need the sorting and sifting equipment there as well. The relative investment cost per ton for the municipal solid waste input, without considering the cost of land, is for the Ringsheim facility around 330 euros per ton, and for the Onnut facility in Bangkok, Thailand, it's around 130 euros per ton. Please note that the Bangkok facility does not have Step 4 and Step 5. Now simply looking at some operational costs. Looking at the operational costs, it should be noted that the sum of the expenses and the sum of the revenues are equal. That is very advantageous for the ZAC, as the ZAC is not allowed to make a profit, so we have to keep our expenses and costs low. One of the important things on the revenue side are the waste fees that bring in money, and the revenue from the sale of electricity produced from the landfill gas and from the biogas from the MBT, as well as the sale of scrap metal. Some of the expenses are, of course, material usage, wages and salaries, and the waste disposal costs of other things that are not processed at the plant. Regarding operational costs, the maintenance of such a facility is very important. One can call it plant maintenance or even planned maintenance, where planned downtimes for maintenance are much more efficient and, of course, less costly than unplanned repairs. If you build it right the first time and also plan with regular intervals and downtimes according to the producer's guidelines, then one can have a facility that is operating much longer than if you just react when something breaks. What are the human resources required? In the example of the ZAC 100,000 tons per year of input in Ringsheim, there are approximately 8 people in the management area and around 40 people in operations. Here you can see that a well-organized shift plan is necessary for the failure-free operation of such a facility. Here in yellow, the early shift, and then in blue, this late shift. They overlap slightly such that the early shift can tell the late shift what has been going on, such they can continue to work correctly. The afternoon shift also will work on Saturdays to do some light maintenance and repairs and cleaning as necessary. Regarding training sessions, this has actually 2 meanings. One of the first meanings is that one wants to train all personnel in the best way possible, such that they can operate all the machinery in an exemplary manner. Secondly, the ZAC or the MYT business unit can also do training for personnel, and these training sessions are adapted to each client and project individually, such that a perfect training schedule can be set up, that everyone knows that when they take over a new facility, that they will be well trained on that facility such that it can be operated in the correct way. The duties and obligations of a company cover the operating and personnel organization as well as occupational safety, including a safety organization, and by the operating and personnel having the organizational structure set up and a proper workflow management, that everything can be organized and operate correctly. For all officials in such a company, it is important that they know their responsibility for what they're responsible for, their competencies, what they have to be competent at, what their responsibilities are, and their tasks, so they can interact with all the people around them and their subordinates in a proper way. Here, it is important to set up the proper workflow management. Regarding workflow management, it is important that all staff know what they have to do, not only know verbally, but also that it's in a documented form that one can look at later on. Also report forms on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, so one can follow up with what is being done. Also forms of control like sampling of material or of metals or of concrete, whatever is necessary. And also the workflows, ordering, procurement, purchasing, and different ways of doing things all should be in there to protect the company, the facility, and also the staff doing this job. The operating and personnel organization needs to implement a proper quality management, a personnel concept, and staff positions. Looking quickly at quality management. Regarding quality environmental management, not only showing that a facility is using the DIN EN ISO 9001-2015 as well as the DIN EN ISO 14001-2015 shows internally that you are having a quality management system that upholds all the regulations and continues to help you control how your business and your facility is run. It also shows outside that the facility is being operated and run under internationally known standards and norms. The EFB is a typical German thing that would not be relative for other countries. And very often the TÜV Süd or other qualified institutions may undertake the audits of these different DIN EN ISO standards. As said in the previous slide, this is important internally as well as externally. I believe that one of the important parts of this quality management system, of these 8 principles, is the responsibility of the leadership, understanding their responsibility to the stakeholders and to their customers and to their employees, as well as the continuous improvement. One learns from one's failures and one changes things so they won't happen again. The ISO 14001 environmental management system will help a facility keep in tune with the internationally known and accepted environmental management system. This environmental management system, ISO 14001, using the PDCA or Plan, Do, Check and Act, is a system that continuously loops back to make sure that when you plan something, you implement that process and you're always checking, is it working correctly? Is it the best thing for you? Can you do something different? And if you find a failure or a problem with the system, you can act and bring it back into replanning of the system. A continuous plan, do, check, and act that works very well and accepted worldwide. Part of this quality policy is the management handbook, probably in chapter 2.4, where one of the important parts is that training of an employee helps encourage the understanding and their responsibility within the organization so he or she can perform the job correctly and also be motivated to do such. As well as also being externally shown that the whole company is being run in a very proper way. Having qualified employees is a top priority of TSAC, as well as should be for any facility. Searching for qualified employees outside and then training them so that they know what they're doing on their specific jobs that they do have and understand the quality management system and the whole facility is very, very important. Also training them to understand new jobs and motivating them to take on new responsibilities will keep them on the job and keep on working with a high motivation for the company. And training of these employees is also very important. Of all these 3 points, we believe that the personnel concept, for example, having a very well set up organizational chart, different job descriptions for each of the positions, a qualification matrix to show what each person has to be qualified to do in such a job, and especially employee interviews and a training plan are all very important for the duties and obligations of a company. The annual review between the employee and the employer are very important for different reasons. One of the reasons for this is the communication between both parties, the employer and the employee, opens communication channels between the two. It also keeps the motivation on both sides going correctly, keeping both sides very motivated. It also helps to organize and enhance the workflows. If you have an employee that is interested and motivated in his job, he or she might make suggestions regarding a change and an improvement to workflows, and to define perspectives for change and development of the employee. If they say, I would like to take on a new job or new responsibilities, then one can talk together and work on that to see if that's feasible. They can agree on targets, and also it's a way of evaluating your staff. Have they lived up to their goals, lived up to what you want from them, and lived up to what they want for themselves? And above all, this recognizes that an employee is probably the most valuable asset that a company has. These are kind of special positions called staff positions. Staff positions are part of the organizational structure of a company, and they are people with specific or special qualifications and tasks which are usually not in the operative side of things, but are incorporated into the organization of the company and have advisory capacity. Such staff positions are usually held by in-house personnel or externally, and some specially authorized personnel. Such staff positions could be the management system supervisor, required to look after the management handbook. Some people, a specialist for the occupational safety for all the employees and for the facility, as well as data protection supervisor, in English GDPR, and maybe even the company doctor, which might be a very good position to have, but as a staff position done externally. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure talking to you about the operational management of an MBT.